The sun beat down on Babylon with a fiery intensity, baking the mud brick houses and turning the bustling streets into shimmering mirages. Dust devils danced in the stifling heat, mocking the plight of Tobiah, a young man slumped against the weathered wall of a crumbling building. Gone were the days when Tobiah, the son of a respected spice merchant, had enjoyed a life of comfort and promise. His father's untimely death, followed by a series of ill-advised business deals, had stripped him of his inheritance, leaving him penniless and drowning in debt. The weight of his misfortune pressed heavily on Tobiah's shoulders. He had tasted prosperity, only to have it cruelly snatched away. His once fine robes were now threadbare, his stomach gnawed by hunger. Despair had become his constant companion, whispering doubts in his ear and stealing his once boundless energy. He had become a shadow of his former self, adrift in a sea of uncertainty, with no land in sight. Tobiah watched with envy as merchants hawked their wares, their voices a discordant symphony in the crowded marketplace. The air, thick with the scent of spices, perfumes, and sweat, was a constant reminder of his fall from grace. He yearned for the days when he had walked these streets with his head held high, his purse overflowing with silver. Now he was just another face in the teeming crowd, invisible to the world, forgotten by fortune. The sound of approaching footsteps startled Tobiah from his bitter reverie. He looked up, his eyes meeting those of a man who seemed to radiate an aura of quiet strength and prosperity. The man's neatly trimmed beard was streaked with grey, his face etched with the wisdom of years spent navigating the treacherous currents of commerce. He was clad in simple but well-made robes, the mark of a man who understood the value of both substance and appearance. A string of finely crafted clay beads adorned his neck, a subtle but unmistakable sign of wealth.
"Young man," he said, his voice deep and resonant, "it seems you have misplaced your cheerful disposition. The marketplace of Babylon is alive with opportunity, yet you wear the expression of a man who has lost his way in the desert."
Tobiah, taken aback by the stranger's directness, could only manage a weak nod. He had grown accustomed to pitying glances and whispered judgments, but there was something different about this man. His gaze held not scorn, but a strange mix of compassion and challenge.
"Tell me, young Tobiah," the stranger continued, lowering himself onto a nearby stool, "what troubles you so? Perhaps a tale shared is a burden halved."
Intrigued by the stranger's unexpected interest, Tobiah found himself pouring out his heart. He spoke of his father's legacy, his own misfortunes, and the crushing weight of his debts. He spoke of the despair that had taken root in his soul, threatening to extinguish the last embers of hope. As he spoke, he felt a strange sense of relief, as though the mere act of voicing his troubles lessened their hold on him. The stranger listened patiently, his keen eyes never leaving Tobiah's face. When the young man was finished, he sat in silence for a moment, stroking his beard thoughtfully.
"Tobiah," he said at last, "your tale is not an unfamiliar one. Many a man has stumbled on the path to prosperity only to rise again stronger and wiser. The gods have not abandoned you. They have merely presented you with an opportunity to forge your own destiny."
"But how?" Tobiah cried out, a flicker of hope igniting within him. "I have nothing left, no skills, no prospects. How can I hope to regain what I have lost?"
"My young friend," he said, his eyes twinkling with an almost mischievous light, "you possess the greatest asset of all, a thirst for knowledge. And I, Dabasir, the camel trader, am willing to share what I have learned in my many years of trading and traveling."
Tobiah looked at Dabasir, the camel trader, with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Could this stranger, this trader of beasts of burden, truly hold the key to his financial salvation?
"Do not mistake my trade for simplicity, young Tobiah," he said, his eyes twinkling. "The desert teaches many lessons, and not all of them concern camels. I've learned that wealth, like a well-tended oasis, requires careful planning, constant vigilance, and a willingness to adapt to the ever-shifting sands of fortune."
Over the next few weeks, Tobiah became Dabasir's shadow. He listened intently as the older man shared his hard-won wisdom, his words as valuable as any precious gem unearthed from the earth. Dabasir spoke of the importance of discipline and delayed gratification, of the seductive lure of easy money and the bitter sting of ill-considered investments. He explained the power of compound interest, likening it to a herd of camels that multiplied over time, their value growing with each passing season. One evening, as they sat sipping strong sweet tea in Dabasir's modest but comfortable dwelling, Tobiah voiced his doubts.
Master Dabasir, he said, your words ring true, but they seem so simple. Can it be that the path to wealth is so straightforward? Ah, Tobiah, he replied, his weathered face creased with amusement. The principles are indeed simple, but their application requires unwavering commitment and a willingness to confront one's own weaknesses. Many a man has stumbled, not for lack of knowledge, but for lack of discipline. Tell me, Tobiah, Dabasir continued, leaning forward, what do you consider the most valuable lesson you have learned thus far?
Tobiah pondered for a moment, sifting through the nuggets of wisdom Dabasir had shared. Perhaps, he ventured, it is the importance of paying oneself first, of setting aside a portion of one's earnings before attending to expenses.
Indeed, Tobiah, he said, his eyes gleaming with approval, that is the cornerstone of financial freedom. For how can one hope to build a fortune if one does not even possess the discipline to save a single brick?
The concept of paying himself first was a revelation to Tobiah. All his life he had believed that wealth was something that happened to other people, something bestowed by luck or inheritance. But Dabasir's words struck a chord deep within him. It was not enough to simply earn money. One had to be intentional about accumulating it, to treat saving as a non-negotiable expense, just like the baker's fee or the rent for his humble dwelling. With newfound determination, Tobiah resolved to put Dabasir's teachings into practice. He found work as a scribe, his nimble fingers copying contracts and legal documents for a pittance. The work was tedious, the pay meager, but Tobiah approached his task with a diligence he had not known he possessed. He kept Dabasir's words close to his heart. From every coin you earn, set aside at least a tenth for yourself. This is not your spending money, but the seed from which your fortune will grow. At first, it was excruciatingly difficult. Every copper piece he earned seemed destined for a more immediate need. A loaf of bread, a new pair of sandals, a small token for his aging mother. But Tobiah reminded himself that he was playing the long game, building a future where such worries would be a distant memory. And so, with each coin he earned, he diligently set aside a tenth, watching with a mixture of pride and amazement as his small hoard began to grow. As the weeks turned into months, Tobiah felt a profound shift taking place within him. The act of saving, once a source of deprivation, became a source of empowerment. He took pride in his growing nest egg, small though it was. He had taken control of his financial destiny, one copper piece at a time. He was no longer a leaf buffeted by the winds of fate, but a man on a mission, a man building a future brick by brick. Section 5. The power of compound interest, like a growing herd. With each passing moon, Tobiah's confidence grew alongside his savings. He faithfully continued his work as a scribe, diligently setting aside a portion of his earnings. His disciplined approach to his finances did not go unnoticed. Impressed by his commitment and newfound financial prudence, Tobiah's employer, a shrewd but fair merchant named Aram, took the young man under his wing. Aram, recognizing Tobiah's sharp mind and eagerness to learn, began entrusting him with tasks of greater responsibility. Tobiah learned the intricacies of trade, the art of negotiation, and the importance of cultivating a reputation for honesty and reliability. All the while, he continued to meet regularly with Caleb, absorbing the camel trader's wisdom like a parched traveler drinking from a desert spring. One day, over a cup of strong cardamom-infused tea, Tobiah shared his progress with Callum. Tobiah, Master Callum, I have been diligently saving just as you advised, but I long to see my wealth grow at a faster pace. Is there a way to accelerate the process, to make my copper pieces multiply like rabbits in springtime? Callum smiled, his eyes twinkling with knowing amusement. Callum, patience, young Tobiah, patience. True wealth is not built overnight. It is like a herd of camels, growing slowly but steadily over time. Have you not heard of the power of compound interest? Callum continued, his voice taking on a note of reverence. It is a force more powerful than the mightiest desert storm, capable of transforming a handful of seeds into a bountiful harvest. Just as a single grain of wheat, when planted, can yield a multitude of grains, so too can your savings generate more wealth when invested wisely. Section 6. Controlling expenditures. Taming the runaway chariot. Tobiah, eager to harness the power of compound interest, pressed Callum for guidance. Tobiah: "But Master Callum, how does one go about investing wisely? Where does one find these opportunities to make one's money multiply?" Callum, stroking his beard thoughtfully, responded, "Callum, before you can think of investing, Tobiah, you must first master the art of controlling your expenditures. For what use is a swift chariot if the charioteer cannot control its reins? Many a man has seen his wealth vanish like water in the desert sand, not through misfortune, but through a lack of discipline in his spending. They mistake wants for needs, indulging in frivolous purchases and extravagant lifestyles, only to find themselves mired in debt." Tobiah, recalling his own past mistakes, felt a pang of guilt. He remembered the allure of fine silks, the temptation to impress others with lavish gifts, the fleeting pleasure of a night spent carousing in the city's pleasure quarters. "Callum, remember, Tobiah, every copper piece you spend is like a soldier sent into battle. Make sure each one fights for your financial freedom, not against it." He advised Tobiah to create a budget, a detailed plan for his income and expenses. Just as a skilled carpenter measures twice before cutting once, so too should you carefully track your spending, ensuring that it aligns with your goals. From that day forward, Tobiah approached his spending with a newfound sense of purpose. He distinguished between necessities and luxuries, carefully weighing each purchase against his long-term aspirations. He took pride in finding ways to reduce his expenses, negotiating with vendors, repairing his sandals instead of buying new ones, and seeking out entertainment that didn't drain his purse. He realized that true wealth lay not in mindless consumption, but in the satisfaction of living below his means and investing the difference. As Tobiah's savings grew, so too did his desire to put his money to work for him. He approached Callum, eager to learn the secrets of wise investing.
Master Callum, I have been diligently saving and controlling my expenditures. Now, I am ready to invest my hard-earned money, but the world of investment seems vast and complex. Where do I even begin?
Callum, pleased with Tobiah's progress, nodded sagely.
Investing, my young friend, is like seeking fertile pastures for your growing herd of camels. You wouldn't simply release them into the desert and hope for the best, would you? No, you would carefully scout out the land, looking for areas with abundant water, lush vegetation, and protection from predators. Similarly, investing requires careful research, due diligence, and a willingness to seek out expert advice. Do not be swayed by rumors or get-rich-quick schemes. Look for investments that align with your risk tolerance, your time horizon, and your overall financial goals.
He advised Tobiah to diversify his investments, spreading his risk across a variety of assets, like a farmer planting different crops to ensure a bountiful harvest. Heeding Callum's advice, Tobiah began exploring different investment opportunities. He invested a portion of his savings in Aram's trading caravans, his former employer's ventures having proven consistently profitable. He purchased a small plot of land outside the city walls, recognizing the long-term value of real estate. And with Callum's guidance, he even dabbled in lending small sums of money to trustworthy borrowers, earning interest on his capital. Years passed, and Tobiah's financial situation continued to improve. His diligence, combined with Callum's guidance, had transformed him from a destitute young man into a respected member of the Babylonian community. He had repaid his debts, accumulated a tidy sum of savings, and built a solid investment portfolio. Yet, he still rented a modest dwelling, yearning for the security and stability of owning his own home.
Master Callum, I have been blessed with good fortune. My finances are in order, my investments are performing well, and I am grateful for all that I have achieved. Yet I still long for a place to call my own, a fortress for myself and my family against the storms of life. Owning your own home, Tobiah, is a worthy aspiration. It is a symbol of stability, a place to raise a family, and a legacy to pass down to future generations. But a home is also a significant investment, one that should not be taken lightly. Before you purchase a home, Tobiah, ensure that your finances are in order. Have you accumulated a sufficient down payment? Can you comfortably afford the monthly mortgage payments without jeopardizing your other financial goals? Remember, Tobiah, a home should be a source of joy and security, not a burden that weighs you down.
Tobiah, heeding Callum's wise counsel, carefully assessed his finances. He realized that while he could comfortably afford a modest dwelling, purchasing a home would require careful planning and sacrifice. He would need to delay some of his other financial goals, such as expanding his investment portfolio or taking a much-desired pilgrimage to the distant cedar forests. However, Tobiah recognized the wisdom in Callum's words. Owning a home was not just a financial decision, it was an investment in his future, a legacy for his children and grandchildren. And so, after much deliberation and careful planning, Tobiah purchased a small but sturdy home in a respectable neighborhood. It wasn't the grandest dwelling in Babylon, but it was his, a testament to his hard work, discipline, and the transformative power of Callum's financial wisdom. As he settled into his new home, Tobiah felt a profound sense of gratitude and accomplishment. He realized that true wealth was not measured solely in gold and silver, but in the security, freedom, and peace of mind that came from making sound financial decisions. He had learned to pay himself first, control his expenditures, invest wisely, and own his own home, the cornerstones of a solid financial foundation. But Tobiah's journey wasn't over. He knew that financial freedom was not a destination, but an ongoing process, a lifelong commitment to making wise choices and adapting to the ever-changing financial landscape. He continued to meet regularly with Callum, eager to learn more about securing his financial future and ensuring that his family would be taken care of long after he was gone. "Master Callum," Tobiah asked one evening as they sat beneath a star-studded sky, "I have learned so much from you over the years, but I still feel a sense of responsibility, a desire to ensure that my family will be taken care of even when I am no longer here to guide them. How can I secure their future, protect them from the uncertainties of life?"
Tobiah, your concern for your family's well-being is a testament to your character. But true wealth is not merely about accumulating riches, it is about building a legacy that transcends generations.
He spoke of the importance of teaching his children about financial responsibility, instilling in them the same values of hard work, discipline, and wise stewardship that had transformed his own life. He advised Tobiah to create a will, a legal document that would ensure his assets were distributed according to his wishes. He encouraged him to consider charitable giving, to use a portion of his wealth to make a difference in the lives of others, to leave the world a better place than he found it. And he reminded Tobiah that the greatest inheritance he could leave his children was not material wealth, but the knowledge, skills, and values that would empower them to create their own abundance. As Tobiah listened to Callum's words, he felt a profound sense of peace settle over him. He had come a long way from the despairing young man who had once sat slumped against a crumbling wall, defeated by life's challenges. He had discovered that true wealth was not a matter of luck or circumstance, but a product of hard work, discipline, and a willingness to learn and grow. And he knew that the journey he had begun, the journey to financial freedom and abundance, was one he would continue to travel for the rest of his days.